Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, is directed by George Lucas and stars the likes of Hayden Christensen, Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman, Samuel L. Jackson, and Ian McDiarmid. This has been the Star Wars movie I've been wanting to review for the last couple of years, and finally the time has come for me to review this film because, of course, The Last Jedi comes out this weekend, one of my most anticipated movies of the year after Dunkirk. I know. There have been many times over the years that I've said this is my favorite Star Wars movie, though most of the time I do say this is tied with the original trilogy, of course, because those movies are classics. And Revenge of the Sith, in my opinion, is a really great movie. I think it at least can compare to the original trilogy. It's really hard to overtake the greatness of those films, but this one can definitely stand on its own because this Star Wars movie is something we've never seen before. The character arc we have in this film for Anakin Skywalker is something we've never seen before in Star Wars or even cinema history. This is one of the deepest, darkest character arcs we've ever had. I'm not gonna lie, I am an action fanatic. There are plenty of action scenes, including lightsaber battles and space missions, but we also have an emotionally driven story told through the eyes of George Lucas. And this review will contain spoilers. If you've never seen Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, this review will have spoilers. You have been warned. So I've probably watched this movie about 5 or 6 times over the last 2 years, and I just rewatched it one more time last night just to make sure I have the right review in place for you guys. Right away, as I already knew, the first action scene here is the battle over Coruscant, and it has some of the best looking CGI I've seen in a Star Wars movie. I think the CGI here is near perfect. It looks great. And the space battle we get here is very entertaining. This is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, space battle in all of Star Wars. I just think it's overall very well done and kept me entertained throughout. And also the banter between Obi-Wan and Anakin in the scene I think is great. They truly have camaraderie. And the dialogue in this movie, people criticize it all the time, but in the scenes with Anakin and Obi-Wan, I think it's really well done and funny most of the time. Obi-Wan and Anakin feel like brothers in these scenes. They've been working with each other for years now, and I think Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor pulled it off. These two had great chemistry and truly do feel like they are related. So then finally, when the space battle is over, Obi-Wan and Anakin reach General Grievous' ship to rescue Chancellor Palpatine, who is held captive by Count Dooku. And once again, right away, we have another awesome action scene that's a lightsaber duel where Anakin and Obi-Wan take on Count Dooku. Just from this scene alone, you know this movie is going to be a great action film. And overall, I really enjoy this lightsaber duel between these guys. So ultimately, Anakin gives in to Chancellor Palpatine's orders, who then kills Count Dooku. He regrets it at first, but then just goes along with it, and these two escape along with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Then we're introduced to General Grievous, who I just love the model of this guy. He is such a cool character. He wields 4 lightsabers, which, let me say, that's very impressive and part of the reason why General Grievous is such a cool character. So then General Grievous escapes, and these 3 end up going back to Coruscant after a rough landing. And then for the next 30 to 45 minutes, we have a lot of dialogue. But let me say this. One of the other reasons why I think Revenge of the Sith is so good is because there is not any downtime. I'm into this movie from the beginning to the end. Dialogue here, at times, I will say, is not that great. I still feel like the story that's presented to us is very investing because, like I said, we've never seen a story like this in Star Wars before. It's the turn from the light side to the dark side for Anakin Skywalker. It's very intense stuff. Padme reveals to Anakin that she's pregnant, and he doesn't seem exactly too happy about this, but goes along with it. And later on in the film, we see how Chancellor Palpatine and Anakin become close friends, but maybe just a little bit too close because it's all part of Chancellor Palpatine's scheme. Anakin joins the Jedi Council, but is not promoted to Jedi Master by Mace Windu. And let me just say this. Mace Windu gives Anakin every single reason in the book why he should turn evil and kill all the Jedi, because Mace Windu, he's not exactly very nice to Anakin in this movie. There are multiple scenes in here where Anakin's like, can I just do this, or can I become a Jedi Master? Mace Windu's like, absolutely not. So I don't really blame Anakin at the end of the day for hating the Jedi. Mace Windu, this guy is not very nice. And later on, one of my favorite scenes in Star Wars history comes up. It is when Chancellor Palpatine and Anakin are having a discussion about the tragedy of Darth Plagueis. This scene is super intense and dark. I think that Ian McDiarmid really pulls off this scene. He comes off as extremely convincing as this Chancellor, while also being behind the scenes this Dark Lord of the Sith. And this story that Chancellor Palpatine tells here definitely sets the tone for what we're getting into for the rest of Revenge of the Sith. Eventually, it becomes apparent to Anakin that indeed Chancellor Palpatine is in fact Darth Sidious, so then he goes ahead and tells Mace Windu that he is this guy. And Mace Windu says, well, Anakin, you're staying back and I'll take care of this. And while this is all happening, Obi-Wan Kenobi is sent to a distant planet to take down General Grievous and end the war. So then the movie switches from dialogue heavy to once again action heavy. You see Kashyyyk. The Battle of Kashyyyk is so cool. I love finally being able to see Kashyyyk in this movie. The duel between Obi-Wan and General Grievous I think could have been drawn out a little bit more. We didn't get to see as much with General Grievous holding the lightsabers, but it was good enough, I guess. We had a cool chase scene between General Grievous and Obi-Wan that kept me entertained. Obi-Wan then kills General Grievous with a blaster, and then the movie goes back to showing Mace Windu take on Chancellor Palpatine, who then wields a lightsaber and goes against 4 Jedi Masters. I always just love it when Samuel L. Jackson would say, "In the name of the Galactic Senate of the Republic, you were under arrest, Chancellor." So Chancellor Palpatine goes on to kill 3 of the guys right away, and Mace Windu has him cornered, but then Anakin comes to Chancellor Palpatine's rescue and helps him kill Mace Windu, which is one of the saddest scenes in Star Wars. I feel so bad for Samuel L. Jackson. But I think the scene came off as effective, and then you finally hear Darth Sidious' plan to take over the galaxy, form an empire, and kill all the Jedi. He starts this by commanding Order 66 and telling Anakin to go to the Jedi Temple and kill everybody, including little younglings. Now I'm just gonna go straight to the climax of this movie because that's what I've been wanting to talk about for such a long time. Obi-Wan sneaks on the Padme's ship where she's going to find Anakin, and that's just a little cool tidbit that Luke has added in there. If you look close enough, the camera zooms out, but you can see Obi-Wan sneaking onto Padme's ship. So Yoda takes on the Emperor where he fails, but it is an intense, satisfying duel between the two. Yoda reveals he's going into exile, and then the movie cuts back to Anakin and Obi-Wan, who, of course, I think have the best lightsaber fight in the history of Star Wars. This thing is absolutely awesome. Yes, Hayden Christensen does not deliver the best dialogue in these scenes.
You will not take it from me!
But hey, I think Hayden Christensen is a lot better in this movie than people give him credit for. Compared to Episode 2, he improved a lot. There are many moments in this movie where he is spectacular as Anakin Skywalker. I think Hayden Christensen is great in this movie. So after, once again, another great lightsaber battle and an overall fantastic choreographed action sequence, Obi-Wan cuts off both of Anakin's legs and his other arm, leaving him in the dust because he had the high ground. Anakin is then scorched. Yeah, this guy almost burns to death. It's crazy. And the whole build-up we got to this I thought was very intense. It left me deep down very sad, and that's what this movie always does to me. I feel so bad about how the whole movie just ends up going, the direction we see this movie take. George Lucas, even though I feel like episodes 1 and 2 are not very good, episode 3 certainly takes the cake as the best prequel movie. This is such a phenomenal movie from beginning to end, in my opinion. It's emotional, it's intense, it's very satisfying, entertaining, everything I could ever want out of a Star Wars movie. Anakin then becomes Darth Vader. He's given the suit. You see the Death Star is now being built. Padme gives birth to both Leia and Luke. They're taken to their separate new families. And we have this final shot with Joel Edgerton holding baby Luke. Joel Edgerton, best actor out there. So through all of that, as I said, Revenge of the Sith, I think, is a very well done movie. This is certainly one of the best Star Wars movies in my opinion. No low points at all in this movie. Yes, the dialogue is not great in some scenes. A couple of times I found myself laughing at some of the delivery we have here. It's not that great, and that's understandable coming from a prequel movie. There's a couple of other small gripes, including the battle between Mace Windu and Chancellor Palpatine. Wasn't that well done. I think they could have done a lot better with that. And some of the CGI here and there is a little bit iffy to me, but overall I found this movie to be once again super satisfying and a great film overall. I'm not going to give it a perfect score, even though I'm a fanboy of Star Wars. I will not do that. I think this movie is not as well made as the original trilogy. They could have done a little bit better with some scenes, but at the end of the day, I still love this movie. I think it's highly underrated and certainly a great film. So through all that, I'm going to give Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith at 95%. One of my favorites. I will always probably say this is a tie between this and the originals. It's so hard for me to put this over all those movies, but it's also at the same time very hard for me to put those movies over this. So at the end of the day, I'll just say I'm a massive Star Wars fan. Hey, and if you guys want to see how I became a Star Wars fan, check out my video that I made a couple weeks ago. It's called How My Fandom of Star Wars Started. I'll put the link of that video in the description below. Alright guys, so Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Let me know down below in the comment section what your opinions are on this film. And this weekend I am finally seeing Star Wars The Last Jedi. I cannot wait for that movie. I hope it delivers and is at least better than The Force Awakens. I'm really looking forward to that. Get ready for that review this weekend, guys. If you're new to my channel, click the subscribe button and follow me on Twitter at SvenSulley and follow me on Snapchat at SvenMovies. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.